All right, guys, so today I'm going to be talking about CrossFit. Now, CrossFit is a topic which is polarizing, to say the least, and I've watched it with a sense of curiosity over the last 10 years, both from a perspective of watching CrossFit evolve, but also watching the way in which personal trainers and strength and conditioning coaches view CrossFit. And there seems to be two distinct groups, and those groups are the fuck CrossFit and everything in it group, and then the other group that tends to be, you know, all or nothing on the CrossFit, or more to the point, all CrossFit. And I think it's really really crazy. You know, most of this stuff, the truth is somewhere in the middle. And for me, I certainly believe in paying homage and paying respect to the things that I've learned from, and I've certainly learned a lot from CrossFit. Now, I'm not a CrossFitter. My gym is not CrossFit certified. I don't have any plans to become CrossFit certified in the future, but I see the virtue in CrossFit. And let me tell you, CrossFit, strength and conditioning, they are the same things. They are just delivered a little bit differently. CrossFit is just a nuanced form of strength and conditioning, and it is legit. All right, there's a lot of stuff out there in the fitness industry that is utter shit, but CrossFit is legit. Do I want to do it? Nah. I can think of far more, pleasant ways to train, but I respect the people who do it, and I respect the coaches in CrossFit, especially the good coaches, because there are some really, really good coaches. Now, I think there's just some things that you need to take into consideration if you are going to use that as a form of exercise. And it depends on what your outcomes are and what your goals are. So if your goal is to get strong and get, in good shape, to get jacked, there are more efficient ways of doing it. All right. So you don't need to go and do CrossFit to do it. Bodybuilding is typically a more efficient way to get strong and jacked. And when I say efficient, what I'm saying here is that you don't need to do these workouts that are as metabolically demanding as CrossFit workouts. And you can do it in a way that's far more conservative, controlled, and with a lower risk. But if you're looking for some sort of competitive pursuit, then CrossFit is a great one. If you're particularly good at Olympic lifting, if you have an aptitude for work capacity, this might be a good alternative to playing football or some other sport as a way of expressing your competitive desires. The other consideration with that, though, and this is a big one that ties into the whole risk versus reward side of things, is I believe if you're going to be doing CrossFit competitively, you need to understand that there are going to be times where you're doing stuff where there is risk. And this is where I think a lot of personal trainers and strength and conditioning coaches lose sight of the outcome and the objective. And they look at CrossFit and they look at some of the form breakdown and what happens when people are doing high rep Olympic lifting, what they're doing when they're doing all the kipping lifts, and they say, oh, look at the form, it's really bad, this is really bad for you, blah-de-blah-de-blah. Now, whilst that is true in a lot of instances, you've also got to put it into context. And the context is that they are doing these lifts as part of a competition. And it's no different to playing a game of rugby, okay? If you go and play a game of rugby, you are going to tackle in bad positions. You're going to get taken down. You're going to bend and twist your knees. You're going to do all sorts of stuff which puts your body into vulnerable positions and risks injury. So if you go into a competitive CrossFit career, understanding that and accepting that, I think you start from a good point. So there's some of the considerations. I think one of the other considerations, and this is definitely something that has been part of the evolutionary process, is getting good at the competitive aspects of CrossFit is not about doing a really hard metabolic workout each day, but it's about having a long-term periodized plan that might not even look that much like what you consider a CrossFit workout to be like. So what that means is, each time you step in the gym, you're stepping in with that focus of developing your maximal strength, or maybe doing some aerobic capacity work, and doing things that are very segmented and very focused on developing a specific energy system. So the good things, I think that the good things are, I mean, there's nothing new in training. In strength and conditioning, the same stuff that works now is the same stuff that worked 40, 50 years ago and was developed in the Eastern Bloc countries. So what we know really is that 70% of any training program, provided that the participant doesn't have any injuries or restrictions that limit them from doing so, 70% of a training program should be made up of squats, deadlifts, presses, and pulls. The other 30% should be based on the outcome and the goal that you want to achieve. So, you know, some of the good things about CrossFit, some of the great things are that most good CrossFit coaches will program with this in mind. 70% of their work focuses on getting strong in those main lifts. The other 30% will be made up of, you know, things that are relevant to competition, being able to do muscle ups, being able to do, you know, extremely demanding work through that lactic acid energy system, and all the other things that then bring the system together. Some of the other things I really like some of the structures of the workouts. The AMRAPs are great, the rounds for time. These are just really novel ways of reconfiguring a workout and making 10, 15 or 20 minutes really, really hard, which can be highly effective and valuable for time poor people. So all in all, I'm a big fan of CrossFit. I pay homage to it, I respect it, I've learned a lot from it. I'll never be a CrossFit certified gym. GTT gyms will never be a CrossFit certified gym, but we are intellectually honest and we acknowledge what we have learnt from this methodology and the benefits of it. So there you go, there's my thoughts on CrossFit and where I stand on it, because this is something I've been asked a lot. I'm all for it, but obviously just asking yourself first, what is my outcome, what are my objectives, and what do I want to achieve from my training?